One in 5 Americans has a disability, making Americans with disabilities the largest minority group in the country. Despite this, many people don't disclose their disability during a job search out of fear of discrimination, even though not disclosing may make it harder for them to find or keep a job. In this video, we will discuss what to consider when deciding if you should disclose your disability to a potential employer, as well as how and when you might do so. One of the first things you have to consider when planning a disclosure is how visible your disability is. Job seekers who use wheelchairs, canes, or sign language are easily recognized as disabled. If you have an obvious disability, arriving to the office for a job interview without adequately preparing the interviewer may not work to your advantage. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, employers cannot legally ask any questions related to an applicant's disability or medical status. Employers are also required to ensure their job application process is fully accessible, including providing accommodations for the job interviews when they are requested. If you have an obvious disability and don't let the interviewer know, they won't know if you are adequately accommodated and prepared for the interview and may not feel safe asking you. The best time to ask for accommodations is while you're scheduling the interview. Common interview accommodations include accommodations for tests conducted during the interview, assistance with completing paperwork, locations of accessible parking and entrances, sign language interpreters, alternative formats for phone interviews, written interview questions delivered at the time of the interview, extra time for interviews, and alternative interview settings to reduce distractions. Requesting an accommodation is your responsibility, but keep in mind that not every accommodation is reasonable. You will need to work together with the interviewer to identify the most reasonable and effective accommodations for your interview. Even if you don't require accommodations, disclosing an obvious disability before the interview is still worth considering. Most interviewers aren't used to interacting with people with disabilities, and prior notice will help them feel more prepared. If you don't have an obvious disability, you may still have behaviors related to your disability that might be new for an interviewer. When you don't disclose, the employer may not connect these behaviors to your disability. Instead, they may draw negative conclusions about you based on what they see. A brief disclosure can help alleviate this. For example, I've got some nerve pain, so I may be shifting in my seat during the interview. Or you'll notice I have a bit of a speech impairment. Please let me know if I need to repeat anything. Most interviewers will appreciate this, as it helps them draw more accurate conclusions about your capabilities to perform the job you are seeking. Even if you may not need accommodations for the interview, you may still need accommodations in the workplace. The face-to-face interview is the best time to bring this up. You don't have to provide any details regarding your disability to ask for accommodations. For example, Do you allow flex time so I can keep my regular doctor appointments? Notice how this question doesn't use the word disability or explain why regular doctor appointments are needed. Remember that the ADA protects you, as the employer is not allowed to ask for that additional information. It's often a good idea to describe the kinds of accommodations you use, especially if the interviewer will report their findings to a hiring manager. By explaining how you use accommodations to complete your job duties, you are better preparing the interviewer to answer any questions the hiring manager will have. Of course, you don't have to bring up accommodations at all. If you feel the accommodation you need will be easy for the employer to provide, you could choose to wait until after you have been hired to request it. If you don't have a visible disability and don't need any accommodations, you may not need to disclose at all. In summary, leaving potential employers in the dark about your disability leaves them open to drawing inaccurate assumptions. Disclosing your disability and speaking with confidence about how you use workplace accommodations to do your job will help them make a more accurate assessment of your capabilities and ultimately make it easier for you to move forward in your career. For more information regarding disability disclosure or other topics related to disability and employment, visit Starkloff Disability Institute's website or contact us at 314-588-7090.